not f***ing started.
Because I'm starting to realize my intuition is going and hanging on my inhibition. I'm right between the lines of paranoia undefined. Cause I don't know who I am.
With one more full day in Hanoi, I got up early to enjoy the sights. Fed up with my stinky presence, Mother Nature insisted I take a shower.
It's actually really refreshing.
Being the disobedient child that I am, I took refuge for lunch. While waiting her out, the downpour started to make apparent the differences between first and third world countries. You'll never see rain roll right off a building in New York City, or distribution lines within arm's reach, or livestock on the sidewalk. The differences are subtle, yet so apparent. So I decided I would finally do something positive for society and voluntarily get myself locked up in a prison. Joking aside, this was not just any prison, but How Low Prison. Famously dubbed the Hanoi Hilton by American POWs during the war. But more interestingly, its name directly translates to the stove or furnace prison, named after the street it's on, which sold many stoves back in the day in a sixth sense of fate. And from what we know, it was hellish fire. Built by the French in the late 1800s, it was used to torture political dissidents of French Indochina. Vietnam does not fail to tell you this. In fact, the entire prison is dedicated to telling you how bad the French were, how much their people suffered, and the victories of those who escaped. But hypocritically, the communist regime fails to tell you that they too took over the prison and did the same exact thing. The monsters had created a monster. The prison still operated even decades after the war. John McCain was housed here, but I didn't know what he went through exactly until I looked it up. For 5 years he was tortured, barely surviving infections and purposely botched surgery. Whatever you think of the man, he did go through a lot. And there were many others, some not as fortunate. Looking through the cells, I couldn't even imagine what it must have been like to be a prisoner of French Indochina or Vietnam. So, I decided to put myself in a cell, pondered what it must have been like. Still, pretty insulting to think that I could even imagine. I decided to leave. The next morning, I did the most stereotypical American thing I could do and walked around various places and stuffing my face with food at each one.
Quick update. I think I found where all the chocolate was.
On recommendation, I went to Kong Cafe. I enjoyed watching the city bustle about while I drank my frozen coconut coffee, giving some relief to the muggy morning. I saw this girl next to me swiping left on a dating app and then taking a video call with a group of her friends. I realized that I'm on the other side of the world thinking about all of our differences, and yet here we are, doing the same things. We just want to relax, drink coffee, socialize with our friends, and say no to fuckboys. Today was going to be a good day. I would finally be kicking off the first part of my trip, going from Hanoi to Hai Phong, and if possible, Cat Ba Island. All I needed to do was check out of the hotel and grab some lunch at the oldest restaurant in Vietnam. But I made the mistake of pulling over thinking my bike would start up again, which leads us to here. What the simulation fails to simulate is the immobility of all the gear, the exhaustion of moving all that weight, and the humidity and the sun bearing down. The trip hasn't even started, and I have to fix this stupid bike a second time. Initial doubts started to creep in, but at least this time, luck was on my side. I was only 3 blocks away from the same repair place as yesterday, but all I could wonder was how much could good fortune see me through. The doctor was in and ready for diagnosis.
I don't know.
Clutch cables are one thing, but this bike won't play nice. I mean, look at this guy. Poor bastard has no idea that bike... Wait, how'd he do that?
How?
At the time, I didn't exactly know how to kickstart, so I'd have to eventually learn. Still, I told him to replace the electric starter anyway. While I waited, I talked to an expat who gave me some helpful terms and words to know, as well as a few rules I should probably follow. But you know what they say about rules. After 30 minutes and $10 later, I had a new starter. So, at least I won't be having startup issues anymore. Now to grab lunch at the famous Cha Kalavong. When you walk up a small flight of stairs, someone may direct you to a table, and they may just give you a laminated index card, which only has one option on the menu. That's it. They don't even cook the food, they literally just give you everything and you just kinda do it yourself. I was actually lucky there was another expat there that showed me how to mix the ingredients and let it all cook. But something started to happen.
Eating food, and all of a sudden my left side of my forehead starts burning. And I asked another foreigner, he's like, no, you look fine. 5 minutes later, I'm like, it's really being bad. And she's like, oh wow, he's like, it's not like that 5 minutes ago. I'm thinking maybe it's an allergic reaction. It might have been. I got ice, I cooled it down, I washed it. It's a little bit burning, but it's feeling a lot better. So, good food, 5 out of 5.
I had an amazing time in Hanoi, but now it was time to leave for Hai Phong.
I've been talking to myself, wishing I was somewhere else. When I die, I don't know when. I can't end, I just began. Feeling like I can't be here. My senses are no longer clear. I'll atone for all my sins. Feel the heat, adrenaline.
What started out simple quickly turned hectic and terrifying. This was not the charming chaos of Hanoi. Worse yet, my pace was much slower than I thought, and then my last GoPro battery died. So I'll quickly fill you in on the rest. It was holiday in Hai Phong, resulting in elbow-to-elbow traffic moving no faster than an anemic sloth. It took another hour until I found the last room at an unlisted guest house, which had one English-speaking person and a completely disinterested cat. It was a grueling, spirit-breaking day, to say the least. I grabbed some dinner and then reflected on how my trip was unfolding. The riding from Hanoi to here, to Hai Phong, is stressful. I think too many riders romanticize it, or the whole Vietnam motorcycle experience. Maybe the other roads and whatnot are better, but this part was insanely stressful. You have so many large trucks going full speed, and so many people just crossing over it, so much shit going on. It is not for the faint of heart, and you know, it's kind of like this, that actually I don't really know if I want to do this. It's terrifying. It's stressful. It's hard. You know, I kept reminding myself, just push through. You can do it. And I think there's something to that. I think it will make me stronger as a person, but at the same time, it's really hard. Certainly discouraged, but not defeated. I knew if I kept going, the rewards of Vietnam would be worth all of my worries. On the next episode of Adventure Simulator Vietnam, I have a simple adventure, a little bit more of an adventure, and maybe too much adventure.